All right, it's time to knock out some work on the Porsche that I've been delaying for quite a while, and that is the timing belts. So this thing actually sat in a field for probably 6 or 7 years before being dug out and revived. Now, the gentleman who drug it out of the field and did some work to it, he did a lot of suspension stuff, you know, like fuel pump, fuel filter, shocks. He tried to do some wheel bearings, didn't really go that well, but he did brakes on the car. He did have the manifold off, and he did try to get a rat's nest out of here. But I know that he did not do the timing belt or the water pump. So this thing has a tendency to run really hot, and it just kind of bothers me. So it does have a new radiator in it that's aluminum, and I know that's good to go. So it's just been time to do this job, and yeah. Now, I don't know when the timing belt was last replaced, so just for peace of mind, I wanted to go ahead and get that done. And while we were at it, I went ahead and ordered a full-blown like front seal kit, timing belt with the tools, all from 924 online, which is a great kit. And I just wanted to go ahead and eliminate all of the damn oil leaks this thing has. So we did O-rings on basically everything in the front of the engine, and it turned out great. Now the video is going to pick up where I'm almost fully disassembled on the entire job. And ultimately, this video is not meant to be a how-to. It's just kind of a vlog capturing what I've been doing to the car. If you want to see a great how-to, I know Clark's Garage and NC944, however you put his channel name on here, he makes the best videos. There's no sense in competing with him. So I will put the link to them in the description. So check their videos out if you want to see a good how-to. But otherwise, enjoy this one. So we are deep into the 924 right now. I've got basically everything off the front of the engine. So we're doing a full frontal seal type deal. So I need to get behind the actual camshaft gear here, pull off this housing because there is a leak behind it. So I do not want to lose TDC, interference engine of course. So I made a little alignment tool. So this goes down here. Slides onto that boss. It's nice and tight. There we go. And then we'll just... But anyway, you get the idea. I'm going to refine it until it works. Okay, let's give this a whirl. I got my locking plate for the sprocket down here that I made. And then I've got an M10 triple square with an adapter to a breaker bar. And then this guy right here. 1 1/4 inch. Like that. Just want to hold the camshaft in place. Alright, no problem. No problem. That worked well. A lot of prep, but it would save a lot of time rather than doing it wrong. Success. All right, let me show you guys just how deep into this car I am. So of course, we're doing the camshaft seal, water pump, oil cooler, which goes over there, so rebuilding that. That was leaking. And then the lower balance shaft seal, upper balance shaft seal, main seal. I'm getting tired, guys. Let's see, obviously we got to put the whole top end together there, but timing belts and all the pulleys and things like that, so there are quite a few parts that have to come off the car. I knocked over my workbench here when I lowered the lift down, but we've been putting the solvent tank and ultrasonic cleaner to work. So over on the bench we have our oil cooler cleaned and ready to go back in its housing, which I've also cleaned everything. Everything is looking very, very shiny and new. So of course, water pump. We have our oil pressure sending unit cleaned. Again, we have all the pulleys, all the hardware is getting cleaned, new seals for everything. So I'm gonna start with the oil cooler, and then I will move up to the camshaft before doing the water pump. And yeah, we'll just start working our way down. Well, we've made our messes and now we're starting to go back together and clean things up. So on the car, dive under here. I've got a lot of stuff cleaned up. So the oil pan and the cross member, the balance shaft, everything up there. I've got the oil cooler on. Everything's been cleaned. So we're starting to put stuff back on. I've got the water pump on the car, all new hardware, torque to spec. The oil cooler, that was kind of fun. A lot of people say you have to take the header off to actually get this off. You do not, but that's also me doing this on a lift, and then I did not have the lower mounts on here. I didn't have a power steering pump or anything like that. So obviously that did give me more room. But yeah, these two 10mm bolts on the heat shield are pretty accessible, and then you have to kind of get around that to get the 13s out. They're a little hard to reach, but nothing impossible. But that's reinstalled. I took good care with the oil pressure relief valve to make sure that was lined up without a tool. So now I'm probably going to start doing the lower balance shaft seal, get that whole assembly on here, and then we'll probably move up top, work on it a little bit there. I need to get the camshaft seal going. But yeah, we're making it happen. Okay, the camshaft bearing is back on. I have the sprocket mounted, and that holder tool that I made is awesome. So I'm going to tighten this nut down. It needs to go to 50 pound-foot. So I'm gonna do just the exact opposite. I'll hold the wrench like this, and then I will have to try to, like, in the right angle, move the torque wrench up to actually get it tightened. So obviously I don't want to just rely on this little aluminum piece, or the little boss is coming off of this housing. So I'm just going to do my best to hold this exactly where it needs to be and bring it up. Easy as that. Also, I've got this short cheese head or triple square from Harbor Freight. I bought a little kit, and these are short, but this little 10mm one, just, it's like it was made for this. So, highly recommend. All right, we got the belts on. Everything is lined up, torque down, all that stuff. So this little guy, I've got the 1/2 mil gap there. I mean, I guess that's what I'm supposed to do. But yeah, it should be just a little loose, you know, 90-degree twist, that kind of deal. So it's all looking good. Get ready to get the hose clamp on this, and then I have the bolts cleaning for the outer cover. We'll slap that on and then start tidying up, like the tensioner there, new belt, and then get the fans in and then go up top. Well, we are all back together except for the airbox lid and filter, which is just in the back of the car. But it is time to hopefully first start this thing. I've already put all the coolant I can fit in it, so hopefully once we start it'll just drink some down, and then I'll be able to top it off there. That was going through the bleed right here, and then I've got it, you know, almost 5 quarts of oil in this thing, so run it for a second and shut her down. So yeah, getting ready to start this thing. A little nervous, I'm not gonna lie. I've never done this job, so even though I'm, like, on one hand very, very confident that I did it just like to the absolute nines and did it to perfection and had everything torqued to spec and everything lined up and triple checked and all that stuff, they're still on the other hand thinking that it's just gonna explode. So I don't know. Anyway, battery's hooked up, let's hit the key. is idling better than it has. So the cap and rotor were pretty dirty. I may have the belt like a little tight, or maybe it's just a new belt. It's gonna make noise. I don't know. It doesn't sound alarming. It's just it's a noise. All right, shut it off. Almost in the window. All right, I'm gonna throw the filter in this thing and we'll button it up, we'll get it out of here and go for a drive. All right, it's the next day and I just got here. I've been losing my mind over what I was experiencing last night. So obviously we saw the car start up. It sounded pretty decent. It felt more responsive, but yeah, something was going on when I was driving it. It had a vibration, and I was kind of racking my brain over that one, and I didn't even think about it, but balance shaft belts. So before I started this project, I watched quite a bit of videos and stuff and tried to get all of the intel that I could as far as how to align the balance shaft belts and the timing belts, all that stuff. I think I actually have the lower pulley on the balance shaft incorrectly. So there is a 0 mark on every pulley for every shaft on this thing, and there is a woodruff key, and I lined that woodruff key up with the woodruff key on the shaft. So for the top one, apparently that is correct, but the bottom one, apparently you're supposed to align the woodruff key with the opposing slot in the gear opposite of the 0 mark, so it is potentially like in between 120 and 200 degrees out. So that would explain a vibration for sure. So unfortunately, I have to go ahead and pull those covers back off and just go through that again, which is not really that hard. The car's off the lift, so I'm gonna have to do this on the ground, but there are worse things. Beyond that, the silver lining is that, man, this thing has never held such consistent temperature ever. So it ran great otherwise, like temp-wise, and it was fine driving up until maybe 4,000 RPM, and then you could really feel it in the gear shift, the vibrations there. So one other odd issue I had was this hose clamp down here for the upper radiator hose. I had clocked it out this way because the person originally had it lined up a different direction, and that interfered with the fan shroud. So I clocked it this way, but when I went to do the headlights, this dude right here swung down, contacted the end of that hose clamp, and like damn near stripped out the end of that. So I have to realign the hose clamp in another way, trying to figure this one out. It's pretty tight right there, so I wouldn't have thought that was going to be something that would bite me in the ass, but sure enough it did. So hopefully that thing's not too stripped to actually function, because I need headlights on this thing. So yeah, we're gonna get to work.
A few moments later.
All right, this is the lower balance shaft pulley, and this is where I went wrong. So per my mechanical brain, the 0 mark, to me, that is a 0, meaning like maybe 0 degrees, and that's like an advanced mark or just a timing mark, whatever. To me, a 0 means that's where the woodruff key is gonna go, and that's where it was on the upper shaft. So this little keyway right here, that's where a pin slides in from the little cover, okay? Now, per some reading now, of course now I find this information, but I should have dug a little bit deeper. I got a little carried away here, it's my fault. But apparently on the let's say 84 cars or something like that, they had an O and like a U, or an O or a U and an L or something like that, so like upper and lower, to differentiate the pulleys, or at least the mark on there. So on the car I have, which is an 87, there is no such mark. So my mistake. I know I have the upper one correctly, so we're going to flip this thing, line this tab up on the woodruff key, and then we'll realign our mark down here where it needs to go. So basically, I mean, that's not exactly 180 degrees, but you know, like 170 or something like that. So that's what that vibration was. And it's ultimately, we got very lucky. It's a very easy fix. I am confident with the timing and everything like that, like the timing belt and stuff. So the car ran great. It just had the vibration. So that's what we're doing. All right, I'm feeling better about this. The mark on the upper balance shaft is lining up good. We have, of course, it's still at TDC. And then down here, everything is lined up a little bit better. And then I redid the position of my tensioner pulley. So I put it in a downward clock position to allow me to more easily adjust the idler pulley here. So it actually has a little bit of contact now, that 1 millimeter deflection. Before, I guess I didn't have that, so now there's a tiny bit of drag on it. And I got my 1/2 mil gap here. So I'm feeling much better about the whole situation. So now it's time to button it back up and test our work again. Look at that temp gauge. I just got off the highway, driving like 90, and it is just rock solid. It has never been so stable. So super happy. Well, the car drives great. The temperature has never been this consistent, which I really love. It usually would climb as I climb hills and stuff, but no, it just stays on the second mark, which is lower than it ever operates. It just stays there, so I'm super happy with that. There is quite a bit of belt line though, so I do believe I have my balance shaft belt a little too tight still. Still working on getting that thing dialed in. I'm gonna address that here shortly. But overall, timing belt job not bad. It was nice to go ahead and clean everything and reseal and just make sure everything is right. Of course, by right, I mean I didn't get the balance shaft belt quite dialed in the first time, but I'm trying. So one issue I did encounter though, with the balance shaft being basically 180 out, causing that like serious vibration, I think it rattled apart pieces of the catalytic converter, meaning it pushed those chunks into the cap that were rattling around. Well, now they've worked their way back to the muffler, and it's just like, it's annoying. So next up on the list is going to be doing exhaust on this thing. So I'm actually going to eliminate the cat, do a resonator or a glass pack essentially, and then actually replacing the muffler with something special. So stick around for that. You're flopping around in here. Well, it's been a few days, and this thing is running great. So other than the rattle in the exhaust, which we talked about. So I'm going to probably make one more adjustment to the timing belt slack and hopefully dull some of that whine that we have here. Overall, it's not terrible, and I know it's good to go. So one other thing I didn't really mention was I did replace the cap and rotor on this thing. The stuff that was on it was really crappy, and I think that was a kind of a running issue I had. It was just pretty rough. And I'm gonna attribute that to ignition. So I went ahead and put some new stuff on there, and beyond that, you know, we're just kind of driving it as it is. Really, really enjoying this car. So we've done quite a bit to it with the wheel bearing, and then we went ahead and did the clutch, so we had the transaxle out of the car. We've done at least that front wheel bearing. I'm gonna go ahead and redo that and put some rotors on this thing. And then take a look at what I got to do with this strut. It's making quite a bit of noise. So next up for this thing is actually going to be exhaust, as we mentioned. And after that, I think I'm going to finally be able to dive into the damn interior on this and have some fun with that, along with maybe a bumper tuck. But I know this is kind of a random video. I ultimately didn't anticipate recording this, but it happened, so I just wanted to get a video up on the channel. I know it's been a while, so regardless, I hope you guys liked it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.